There's a pizza chain that once had more locations than Domino's has today. It didn't get famous for the pizza. It got famous because a law school dropout with a nervous tremor named it after himself, opened with no food at all, and eventually sold it to the same family that later tried to corner the world's silver market. That company still exists. You've probably driven past one. And in one country, millions of people eat there weekly with no idea it's American. This is the real story of Shakey's. His name was Sherwood Johnson, Sacramento, California. He'd been on track for law school before dropping it to open a restaurant with his college friend, Big Ed Plummer. Johnson had a visible tremor. Some say from malaria in World War II, others trace it to a nervous condition from his time in the Navy. Either way, instead of hiding it, he put it on the sign. In 1954, Shakey's opened. Here's the detail almost nobody mentions. On opening weekend, the ovens weren't finished. There was no pizza. They served beer, that's it. And Johnson used the weekend's beer money to buy pizza ingredients the following Monday. The first great American pizza chain was capitalized by a keg. He also brought in a jazz band before the food was even working, playing piano himself to keep people around. That music ended up mattering more than the crust. Shakey's is credited with sparking a jazz revival in Sacramento, and Johnson is actually honored today in the American Banjo Museum. Not a pizza museum, a banjo museum. By the mid-1960s, it had ballooned to 250 locations. By the 70s, over 500, making it, by most accounts, the first true franchised pizza chain in the country. And then it gets strange. In 1967 and 68, Johnson and Plummer sold their shares to a sugar company. That company then sold Shakey's again in 1974, this time to Hunt International Resources. Yes, the Hunt brothers, the same family who a few years later tried to corner the entire global silver market, an attempt that collapsed the price of silver in a single day, known as Silver Thursday. A pizza and jazz chain sat inside that same portfolio. Ownership kept flipping through the 80s, each buyer pulling the brand in a different direction, and sales and locations shrank fast. By the 90s, legal battles with franchisees finished the damage. Today in the U.S., Shakey's is a small fraction of its peak. But here's the twist most people never hear. In 1975, Shakey's expanded to the Philippines, brought in by a beer company mainly to promote its own beer. Instead of fading like the U.S. parent brand, it became a genuine national institution. Hundreds of locations, generations of birthday parties, a fried chicken dish most Americans have never heard of. There are more Shakey's in the Philippines today than the U.S. chain ever had left at home. So the real ending isn't a declining old pizza chain, it's an American brand that collapsed at home and quietly became bigger 8,000 miles away than it ever was in its own country. Not bad for a guy who named a restaurant after his own shaky hands.